Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate everyone taking time out of their day to join us to talk about Microsoft 365 Business Voice. As it is a live event, I will be doing the talking, but certainly there is the question and answer section up in the top right-hand corner of the window, two little bubbles with a question mark on them. And please feel free to ask questions throughout. And of course, there will be some time at the end for questions as well. As this is a live event, there is a little bit of a time delay from what I'm saying to what I see back. So if you're answering questions, it may take a minute for me to respond. And at the end, I'll leave some extra time while I wait for people to give any question time. So Microsoft 365 and business calling today. And depending on what type of a phone system you have today and what you're doing for your business calling, you likely have a desk phone of some type or a cell phone that are disjointed from each other. And they're tied to either an on-premise telephone system. We often use the term PBX to define that centralized on-premise phone system. You may have a phone system hosted by a telephone provider. You likely have different applications or services that you're using for telephone versus audio conferencing or video conferencing meetings, or some combination of those. You're going to have some level of on-premise maintenance costs for any on-premise PBX system, so annual renewals, programming costs, a lot of different components that might be in place, phones that may get out of date, a phone system that might get out of date and have to be replaced periodically. And that leads to multi-vendor complexity. You're dealing with multiple different systems doing different things within your environment. So from a visual representation of a lot of traditional telephone systems that we see in the market today, people have phones and a PBX system that's centralized telephone system that's usually on premise, and it is connected to a phone company over either PRIs or analog phone lines, might be SIP trunks. Of course, in the cellular world, you have your cell phone connected over the closed network of your cell phone provider back to the phone company, and then the phone company connects you to the rest of the public switch telephone network, the PSTN, the 10-digit dialing that we've been doing forever to call people on telephones. And that's really what most people are doing for telephone communication today. The problem is the needs have changed, and the workplace has changed, and people's needs have changed. I'll get to the highlighted one in a minute, but more and more people are working more collaboratively on a regular basis, and utilizing multiple devices for that collaboration isn't as easy when those devices are disjointed and aren't connected in any kind of solid back-end environment. People are using social in different ways than they ever were before. More people have more devices. Most people have a desktop or a laptop and a mobile device. Some people have a desktop, a laptop, and a mobile device. Some people have a desktop, a laptop, a mobile device, a tablet, a smartwatch, and then some other devices. And it's nice to be able to have a similar experience across multiple devices. This slide is actually from 2019. And it was an interesting prediction as to what might be happening in 2020. And a lot of us have dealt with a lot of remote work over the last year, and having a communication system that enables the most functionality out of a work from home environment is definitely beneficial to all of us. And a lot of us have multi-generational workforces. And with multiple generations in a workforce, the same interface for how people are going to use an application or a service might not be the best for everyone. You may want to have different interface options for different users, and that might mean different device options for different users. So when we look at business calling reinvented, we move away from calling tied to a physical phone device to calling from any device from any location. We move away from multiple apps to a unified communication solution. We move away from on-premise PBX to a cloud-based telephone system. away from multi-vendor complexity to single vendor simplicity. And really, we are wanting to welcome our customers to cloud telephony the way it should be. And when we look at the anatomy of that new cloud telephony, we stop thinking about a phone and need to start thinking about an application. Because whether it's the Teams app on a desktop, a tablet, a mobile phone, or a Teams desk phone, it's the interface and the application that then is connecting over the internet to Microsoft's cloud phone system, which is then connecting to the public switch telephone network. So it's a different configuration for how you're actually making those 10-digit phone calls, but it's also different hardware and capabilities within the tools that you use. So really, why is Microsoft Teams a good choice for communication and a phone system? Because it's really everything in one solution. We have a PBX hosted in the cloud. We have online meetings. We have audio conferencing and telephony, on top of instant messaging and project management and task management and file sharing and co-authoring that many of you have likely used in Teams already today. But it's not just individual phone capabilities, it's conference room systems, it's mobile capabilities, it's full call forwarding and functionality, and it's full call attendant and call queue capabilities as well. So when we look at Microsoft Teams as a phone system, we look at calling being simple. It's the same interface, whether you're on your desktop or laptop, whether you're on your mobile device, or whether you're on a Teams phone. The interface is the same, the end user experience is the same, and you're leveraging cloud technology so you don't have to worry about on-premise requirements. As long as you have an internet connection, you have availability to use Teams as a phone system. Whether it's your phone, your mobile phone that has that internet connection, your desk phone that has that internet connection, or your PC or laptop that has it. When we look at Teams as a phone system using the Teams application on a desktop or laptop, it's just another tab, another feature within the application. You click on the calling menu item, and once you're telephone enabled, you have your phone number and a dial pad to be able to make phone calls. Once you start making phone calls and receiving phone calls, you have the ability to see call history right there in the Teams application, access your voicemail. You can access all of your contacts, so you can call people right from the contact screen right inside of Teams. And you have call forward settings that you can set to decide whether or not you're taking your calls directly in your Teams app or on your Teams device. You can forward to another device like a cell phone if you want to, and you can change and control your audio settings. Now, this screen is actually just changing, and those new Teams rollouts are happening right now. So depending on what your settings are in your Office 365 environment for how quickly you get new changes, that is rolling out right now. So mine today actually looks slightly different, but all the same features and functions are there. So if you're already using Teams today, you already have the ability to make a phone call, but really it's a Teams audio call from one Teams user to another in any of the Teams applications. And in this case, Alex clicks on the call button, clicks the phone icon on Adele's contact card, and makes a Teams computer to computer, or more importantly, a Teams application to application audio call. And at that point, as soon as that call is initiated and Adele accepts that call, they're now having a conversation via whatever audio technology is connected to their desktop or laptop device. That same experience works when you're using the Teams app on a mobile device, and of course, when you're using a Teams phone. You have that ability to make calls to people that don't have the telephone capability of Teams turned on. You're just using the native Teams application to application calling capability. When we add PSTN calling, we add that ability to connect to the PBX in the cloud via the Teams application, and we give the user a phone number. Now we go to the same call button and we dial a phone number, or we click a user in a contact card and choose their telephone number, and we make a telephone call. You know it's a telephone call because you see the actual telephone number active in the call, both while you're dialing and while you're on the call. So there's nothing significant that changed in Teams. You didn't have to download a new application. You didn't have to relearn how to use Teams. You just got an extra bit of functionality with that dial pad and that telephone number connected to your Teams environment. You also then gain the ability to transfer calls. So you receive a telephone call, pops up in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, just like a Teams application to application call does. And when you answer that call, you have the ability to put the person on hold, and then you can transfer directly to another Teams contact. You can start a chat message conversation with that user and say, hey, do you want to receive this call from so-and-so? And then you can transfer that call. Of course, you can do blind transfers, and you can transfer directly to someone's voicemail. One of the nice things about Teams is we have presence capability in Teams. So we can see if someone's available or not in their Teams icon in their contact card. So we're able to understand in advance when a call comes in for that person, whether it makes sense to contact them via chat and ask them if they want to receive the call. Or if we see that their indicator is red and they're busy, it might make sense to just transfer directly to their voicemail. All of those options exist. Now, because it's the exact same Teams interface, when you join another person to a Teams application to application call, you've essentially turned it into a Teams meeting. It's an ad hoc real-time Teams meeting that wasn't pre-scheduled. And many of you may have used this functionality in Teams today, where you just call someone, or you already have a scheduled meeting, you click the show participants, and you add additional users to that Teams meeting. You have the same capability within the Teams phone system world, where by adding audio conferencing to a user, you audio conference enable their Teams meetings. And this gives the ability for people to dial into that user's Teams meeting via a telephone. It also gives you the ability to dial people into the meeting via telephone. So I can add a participant being another Teams user, but I can also add a participant, type in a phone number, and it'll call that phone number and add that user to that Teams meeting. So we have the telephone capability for Teams to be able to send and receive phone calls, and then we have the audio conferencing functionality for your Teams meetings to be able to accept and make phone calls. It is a full-featured telephone system, and one of the most important characteristics of that is voicemail. Voicemail is an important capability. You want voicemail to be very easy to use, simple for your users, and this is how the voicemail looks inside the Teams app. You click on the voicemail option, and not only do you get the recording that you can listen to, it automatically transcribes your voicemails for you, so you can just read the text. And assuming you're using Exchange Online, the email portion of Office 365, which most people that are going to be using Teams, especially Teams as a phone system, will be using, the user would automatically get an email with that recording and that transcription in their email. And if they delete that email, it will clear that voicemail out of their system. So you don't have voicemail sitting in your phone system, because you may have a phone system today that has the ability to provide your voicemails into your email. In those environments, often you get the email with the voicemail, but then you still have to go to your phone system to remove that old voicemail that you've listened to on your email already. This is an integrated system. These voicemails are stored in Azure, linked to Teams, and linked to your Exchange Online. So you don't have to manage the voicemail multiple times. As I mentioned earlier on, we have a rich set of calling features. This is not a first generation phone system, and I'll talk a little bit more to that in a minute. When we look at basic calling features, we can initiate by name or number. One of the benefits of it being a soft phone application, if you're using it from your computer, is the ability to click phone numbers in websites and dial phone numbers right from websites without having to retype them. You have full call, answer, hold, retrieve capabilities. Depending on how you choose to add phone numbers to your team's phone system environment, and again, I'll speak to that a little bit more later, you have direct inward dialing or individual phone numbers for each individual user. And you have the control as to whether when users make outbound phone calls, their individual number shows up or a generic or corporate number shows up. And you can have different generic or corporate numbers for different users or different sets of users. You have call history information. There's some deeper reporting I'll talk about a little bit later. You can switch active devices. So if you're in an active call while you're out of the office on your Teams app on your mobile device and you come back into your office, you can transfer that call to the Teams app on your desktop or laptop or to a Teams device you may have on your desk. You can have different ringtones based on different calling types, and we can go into a much deeper set of capabilities. There is reasonably advanced call routing capabilities. There's different sets of voicemail rules. We have call on behalf and call answer capabilities. We can delegate call functions to other people. And then we have call forwarding and simultaneous ring options as well. We have call park, hold, blocking, do not disturb, all of the features you'd expect out of a full capability phone system. It's a cloud PBX. You can do the administration from anywhere, anytime. You go to the Office 365 site, you log into it, you go to your admin area, and you go to the Teams admin center. And all of the administration is done from the browser via the cloud. From there, you can configure your details for call routing capabilities, call queues, auto attendance, call routing functionality for ring groups, and then call parking rules. You then can see all of the metrics and the reporting information as well. If a session border controller, again, speak more to that in a little bit later, is a part of your environment, you'll be able to manage it all from that cloud web-based management console. And it's not a typical phone system from a management capability. It is a very easy to manage phone system. It's very straightforward. Like everything else in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, it's user-focused, not device-focused. So you're really configuring a user and giving them the ability to use that functionality from whatever device. The Microsoft 365 environment is cloud-based. One of the key capabilities of that is being able to use it from anywhere, anytime, and from any device. And Teams, and therefore telephone calling from Teams, follows that same rule. We can use desktop or laptop devices supporting all of the current major operating systems. We can use a number of mobile platforms, iPhones, iPads, Androids. All of those different devices are supported, and the user experience is similar across all those devices. And if you have a tablet that you prefer to not have to download applications to, or even a laptop that you don't want to download applications to, you can do almost all of the functionality from the browser, and a wide variety of browser platforms are supported. Chrome and Edge are supported on the Windows platform. Their Safari and Firefox are supported across both and on the Mac platform as well. So a wide range of browser support, wide range of mobile and cell phone device supported. We then have a wide range of peripherals that are Teams certified peripherals that enhance the Teams experience for users depending on how your users are going to operate in your Teams environment. This device here is not actually a phone. It's just an access for your mobile device. So this is designed for environments where you might have hot desks or desks set up where multiple different users come in on different days and use that desk. Not as common prior to COVID-19, maybe more common during and after COVID-19. You come in, you drop your mobile phone onto here, it charges, and it makes a Bluetooth connection to this keypad, screen, and handset. You can also have a wireless headset on this, and this becomes that desk phone experience, but it's actually being driven off the Teams app on your mobile device. You'll see this Teams button on a lot of devices. It's an easy one-click button to initiate a Teams call or answer a call. There's a variety of different types of speaker phones, generally for one or small room usage. I'm actually using a device just like this one from Jabra right now for this session. A number of different types of headset options, whether you want wired or wireless, binaural or mononeural, whether you want one speaker on each side or two speakers on each side. A lot of the Teams certified devices have audio controls on a part of the cord or on the base station of the wireless device or right on the headphones themselves for initiating or answering a call. We also then have a wide variety of Teams phones as well. Some of those phones actually have cameras built in and have video capability, so you can actually have a Teams audio call and or a Teams video call on those devices, or they can just act as a simple basic telephone. Some of them have a fixed dial pad, some of them like the Polycom devices, the Poly devices, when you lift up the handset, the display changes to the dial pad. There's also a variety of different types of meeting room devices. So there's like a wedge-shaped device with a microphone and speaker on one side. Then there's a number of different types of tripod style devices that have microphones and speakers all around the device that usually support quite a large room, even a decent sized boardroom, for the audio portion of Teams calls and to replace what is currently likely the conference room or the boardroom phone. This would replace that functionality to be able to send and receive phone calls. There's even now some newer devices generally targeted more at the executive that are an all-in-one self-contained device that you can set on your desk just for the purpose of joining Teams meetings and operating in portrait or landscape mode for video calls. So wide range of combinations of application platforms, whether it be the desktop, the laptop, the mobile device, and then a wide range of devices. What's really critical here is it's all leveraging Teams. So the experience and the interface that you're using across any of these devices works the same across all these devices. And the content scales across these devices. As this application has been developed, it's cognizant of the type of device and the screen that you're connecting from and the capabilities of the devices that you're connecting from for what you're able to see and do on that device. We have a number of different options for larger meeting rooms and capabilities to add video along with audio to those meeting rooms. So we have collaboration bars that can be controlled by a number of different types of devices for the call control, answering, and making calls. Most of these collaboration bars have speakers, microphones, and cameras built in and can handle rooms anywhere from, 5 to 10 feet deep. Some of them even handle rooms that are 20 to 30 feet deep, 15 to 20 feet wide without a problem. When you have a much larger meeting room, a boardroom environment, you start enabling systems where you have call control modules on the table, usually on the center of your boardroom table or at the front of the room. These are actually PCs with a tablet attached or integrated with a tablet interface or a touch interface for the call control. Very similar Teams meeting experience. And then you're going to pair these with camera systems and microphone and speaker systems that you're often going to build into the room. So the cameras are going to be permanently mounted, the speakers and the microphones will be permanently mounted for, again, all different sizes of rooms. Same experience across all of them. And then if you have a need to have that meeting room experience outside of what is your traditional meeting room, you have that as well with devices like the Surface Hub. So you can take a Surface Hub, which is an all-in-one PC and display with touch interface, add a camera to it or buy it with the camera option, and then you can actually put it on this portable easel which has a battery pack built in, and this device in this format can be wheeled into any room. It makes a wireless connection and it will run for about 3 hours off of this battery pack at the bottom of this easel. So now any room can be turned into an instant collaboration room with full Teams meeting capability so that the participants can be seen, heard, video can be shared, applications can be shared, and because this is a full PC with touch interface, you can actually run applications or share applications and use touch control to interact with whatever application you might be sharing from that Surface Hub. So the setup and management of a Teams phone system and of any phone system is just as important as getting the end user experience correct. If it's not set up properly, if it's not robust, if it's not reliable, you're not going to have a good end user experience. And Microsoft understands that. And while Teams as a phone system is a reasonably new concept, and it might not be something that everyone is overly familiar with, Microsoft isn't new to the telephone world, and many people may not realize that Microsoft has been making an on-premise telephony solution since 2007. It started with Office Communication Server, which then became Lync, and that was the more common on-premise phone system that we saw deployed from Microsoft. They then modified the product and renamed it Skype for Business to align with the application of Skype Personal, although the back-end system and the application of Skype for Business is completely different than the Skype Personal. And then that Skype for Business technology that was built on the Lync and the OCS before that is what's being leveraged in Microsoft's cloud to be Microsoft Teams. So it's interesting because we're basically now in our fifth version of a Microsoft collaboration solution, and that's generally when a lot of Microsoft solutions really hit prime time. So it's a very well-heeled, robust application background behind the Teams solution. And that's well recognized by a number of industry groups that rate and review different communications platforms. And when we see unified communication as a service, Microsoft is right up there in the top of the Magic Quadrant, ahead of a lot of names that you would probably be surprised they're ahead of, that have been doing it in the cloud for a lot longer than Microsoft, but Microsoft has been doing it on premise, leverage that technology for the cloud. And this is just for last year. So this quadrant from Gartner on the left-hand side, this is measured as of 2020. The Forrester Wave is from 2019, and this previous Magic Quadrant was the 2019 rating. So you can see Microsoft's moved ahead of Cisco and up into the top level of the leader quadrant, really being a top leader in the hosted telephone and unified communication marketplace. So how does it work? How do we do it, and what do you need to be able to make this work? You've seen the Teams application. You may already be using the Teams application. That's the front end aspect of it. So you build on top of Office 365 with Microsoft Teams. Again, whether that be the Microsoft Teams app on a desktop, a laptop, a mobile device. To that, we add the license, the phone system license, which enables Microsoft's Cloud PBX to be used by your users. And then to that, we have to add the connectivity to the public switch telephone network. So telephone line capability to this cloud-hosted PBX that Microsoft provides. And there's two options to do that. We can do that with Microsoft calling plans, or we can do that with direct routing. So the difference between those is really who and where you want to manage your phone line connectivity. So in a Microsoft calling plan, Microsoft has connectivity between this cloud-hosted PBX and the public switch telephone network in their back-end cloud environment. So you can start buying your phone numbers from Microsoft directly. And that's a Microsoft calling plan. When you choose to do that, you can either take the new phone numbers that Microsoft provides as a part of those calling plans and use those phone numbers, or you can port your phone numbers. You can actually transfer your phone numbers from whoever your current telephone line provider is to Microsoft, and then your existing phone numbers will work in Microsoft's cloud PBX solution. Now, depending on where you are in the province, there might be some locations where your numbers may not be portable. The majority of the phone numbers in the city are portable. And this is similar to the capability that we've had for quite a long time in the cell phone world, where you can move your cell phone number from one cell phone provider to another. Same concept of moving your telephone number from one telephone line provider to another. Now, depending on your current environment and how you're configured with your existing phone system and how you're getting telephone connectivity into your existing phone system, you may be on a contract, a PRI contract or a SIP contract, or you may want to integrate and maintain integration between your existing phone system and Microsoft's cloud phone system, and that's an option. Well, we leverage a technology called direct routing, whether that is direct routing from your telephone line provider directly to Microsoft. So you keep paying your current phone line provider, but now they take care of making your phone lines, your phone numbers going from your existing phone system to Teams without you having to worry about doing any number porting. Or you put a session border controller, an appliance, on-premise in your environment. You connect that to your existing phone system and or to your existing phone line connectivity. And then from there, you reroute your phone calls to Microsoft's cloud, which also gives you the ability to integrate Microsoft's cloud phone system with your on-premise phone system, if that's what makes sense for your migration. So when we look at this, we take Microsoft Office 365, we take the Teams calling app, and then we add the Microsoft 365 Business Voice license. So you've already got this licensing in one shape or another if you're going to use Teams as a phone system. And if you don't have that, you're going to need a base Microsoft plan that gives you Exchange, gives you SharePoint, and gives you the Microsoft cloud back end that the Teams app then leverages. And then we add on the phone system license that enables the calling via the cloud PBX. We add on the audio conferencing, so the ability to dial into meetings, and then we add on the appropriate dial tone, or the PSTN connectivity, whether it be a Microsoft calling plan or leveraging your direct routing. Now, even though you don't have Microsoft phone system today, you may already have audio conferencing. This was an option that could be purchased by itself to PSTN or telephone enable your Teams meetings. When you buy the Microsoft 365 Business Voice license, that audio conferencing is included. So if you're already paying $5 per user per month for audio conferencing, that will actually go away, and it'll be replaced by your Microsoft 365 Business Voice license. Now, which Microsoft 365 Business Voice license you choose depends on how you want to get that telephone number, that telephone line connectivity into your Teams phone system. So in the full-featured business voice at $22.50, we have the cloud-based phone system, the audio conferencing, and the calling plan from Microsoft. So Microsoft is providing your telephone numbers. If you already have a PRI or a SIP trunk in contract and you want to be able to continue to leverage that for whatever you're already paying your telephone provider for that, you can keep that and you can buy the business voice without the calling plan license, which saves you $7 per user per month to go towards whatever your existing telephone costs are. So both options exist depending on whether you want Microsoft to be the one providing the telephone line connectivity or whether you want to leverage existing service provider telephone line connectivity. The qualifying prerequisite is having one of the Microsoft 365 business plans, basic, standard, or premium, or having a variety of the individual plans, some of the E-level plans, some of the frontline worker plans, that then you would add business voice on to give calling capability to those users. So how does this look and work? So by default, Teams has the chat capability and has the meeting capability built in. And you have the user-to-user or application-to-application calling capability that you have today. What we're adding on is audio conferencing, so telephone number enabling your Teams meetings, and then we're adding on phone system and potentially adding on a calling plan. So with these add-ons in the business voice licensing, we're increasing the capabilities of your existing Teams environment. And we'll leverage something called communication credits, and I'll come back to those in a minute. So when you do audio conferencing, you add that on to just about any of the existing Office 365 plans today, again, built into that business voice plan, you're enabling people to dial into your Teams meetings. Now, depending on what you want people that you want to join your meetings to have to pay, you can decide to have people just dial into a regular area code phone number. And if they're outside your area code, then they have to dial long distance. And if you're perfectly fine with that, that works. If you want to toll-free enable those Teams meetings, you can do that. And then you need to purchase communication credits, which are just a bucket of dollars you refill monthly or on an automatic basis that pays for the toll costs of you covering those toll-free calls into your audio conferencing, just like any other audio conferencing solution, but now it's fully embedded and integrated into Teams. You also give the ability for your attendees, and I showed this in that brief demonstration earlier, the ability to dial people into the meeting or dial out of the meeting. So while you're in a Teams meeting, you want to call someone, you know they're traveling, they're in their car, the only option they have is cellular connectivity and cellular phone connectivity, not data. So you can't call them on the Teams app, or all they provided you with is a phone number. You go to the participants in the Teams meeting and you type in their phone number, it rings and they get joined into that Teams meeting. The communication credits also pay for your cost if you're dialing long distance to do that. So audio conferencing gives you that ability for your Teams meetings to be telephone enabled, communication credits to pay for any toll charges. In the telephone system licensing, where we add on the phone system and we add on the Microsoft calling plan, we're adding on communication credits for whatever isn't covered by the calling plan. So the default calling plan that's included in Microsoft Business Voice is called the domestic plan. So it's unlimited. It's actually 3,000 minutes of calling per user per month within Canada and the United States. But if you have to call outside of Canada or the United States, then it's going to use communication credits to pay for those additional toll charges when you're calling someone outside the Canada or the United States. There is also the option to buy a flat fee international plan that adds 600 minutes of international minutes if you have some users that are often on a regular basis calling overseas or calling down to Central or South America, or calling, I guess overseas on either side, east or west. Now, in that licensing of that business voice and that calling plan that's included, you get 3,000 minutes per user per month, and those are pooled. So if you have users that go over their 3,000, but other users that use less, that's pooled together. So you do get to pool those minutes if you have some heavy phone users. So you don't have to be worried about being overly restricted by the total amount of minutes. And if you have a large number of overseas calling users, those overseas minutes are pooled as well. So communication credits are just the way you pay for any toll charges over and above what's built into either the regular audio conferencing or your calling plan. Hopefully that wasn't too complicated. If anyone has questions about that, they can certainly ask them in the Q&A. And of course, we could always do a follow-up conversation for exactly how all this licensing works out. There's also some special resource accounts. You don't want to have to pay a user license for a phone that isn't actually being used by a user. And you will have phones that aren't always used by a user. Maybe you have a phone in your lunchroom, or you have a phone at your front lobby area. You don't have to pay a user for license for those. There are some virtual phone system licenses that you get with the system. You get 25 by default, and you can add more on if you want to, and there's no additional cost for those. And then there's specific licensing for those meeting room devices that I showed earlier, because those devices are using Teams, they need to be licensed, but you don't want a user license for those because you don't want to tie them to a specific user. So there's a variety of different licensing mechanisms for those different types of users. Now, I mentioned earlier the Teams Admin Center. So it is a browser-based full control of the Teams phone and meeting capabilities system. You go to the admin.teams.microsoft.com site, or go to it from your regular Office 365 admin center, and in here you configure your devices, you configure your users. This is already where you would configure your meetings and your meeting policies. Now you set up your calling policies, your voice rules, and then this is where you set phone numbers for users, and you set up under voice all of the auto attendance, ring groups, call routing rules that you want. If you need more advanced attendant console functionality, so reception functionality beyond what's built into Teams, we have some third-party solutions, Luware being the primary one, that gives a full attendant console, being able to put multiple calls on hold, in a queue, reassign them to other people, faster and easier call transferring capabilities, and that fully integrates into the Teams application. So it's not another app you have to run, it's not another place you have to go to, just those users get that ability in their Teams interface on their computer. You may be using some level of analytics in your the call dashboards that are built in are geographically aware, and they give you the ability to both view the call quality overall that is being experienced throughout your environment, but also detailed call reports. And you can utilize these reports and create dashboards in Power BI if you want to be able to share that call quality and call reporting information. You can also just drop them out to Microsoft Excel and then create your own pivot tables or whatever you want for your call reporting. Obviously, Power BI gives you a lot more dynamic functionality with that call reporting. There is compliance recording built into the Teams calling and meetings flow. So if you need to be able to record or set compliance rules, you can do that, and you can set up flows that define based on which users and what they're doing in their meetings or in their calls when compliance recording is turned on or not turned on. Of course, you can turn it on manually when you need it as well. So if call recording is important, that's a capability you have as well. So we talked about what it is. We talked about how you license it. Now, how do we get you there? And the migration, while the technical components are important, in many ways, the technical components are the easy piece, really, of any migration. While there's a lot of configuration work that has to happen, the configuration is reasonably straightforward. The part that isn't as straightforward is the impact it has on your users. People don't like change. People are resistant to change, and people are going to say that it's not going to do what they want, or it's not going to give them what they want. You also may have an environment where people are already doing something other than what you think they're doing for telephone capabilities today. Whether they're using their cell phone all the time, they're forwarding their desk phone to their cell phone, they've already got out and bought a cloud-hosted solution without telling anyone. There's a variety of different things that people may be doing. If we want to make this migration work right, we have to make sure the configuration is done right for your organization, and then we have to onboard your users to the solution properly. And we have to make sure that we pace this in a way that is right for users. So we have to plan it, pilot it, you can even pilot in advance in a POC, and then deploy in a method that works correctly for all the different users in your environment. Now, we have two basic migration methodologies we look at. We have a coexistence migration, where we have teams coexist with the existing phone system in one of a variety of different ways. If we leverage one of those session border controllers I was talking about, we can actually have users on your existing phone system making phone calls with users on Teams as a phone system simultaneously. We could also do a cutover migration, where we pre-configure the environment, do some training and testing, and then move everyone over and turn the old phone system off. Which one's going to be the best fit for your environment is going to depend on a variety of things. It's likely going to depend mostly on how Teams knowledgeable and capable your environment already is. So you may already be doing phase one, which is using Teams to Teams calling. So just using the Teams application to call each other on Teams. If you're not, that's a great way to get everyone comfortable with the concept of calling each other on their computers and or on the Teams apps on their mobile devices. Phase two would be bringing the telephone functionality into Teams and starting to be able to make telephone calls with Teams. Now, we can do that via the phone licensing from Microsoft while not leveraging your existing telephone numbers, again, to get people comfortable with it, or that could be the point of the cutover if we were doing a cutover migration. Phase three may be a more advanced PBX integration and session border controller integration if we need to leverage your existing telephone line connectivity to be able to get telephone line capability into Teams, or if we want to integrate with your existing phone system. And then phase four would be removing the previous phone system altogether. So we may only need 2 phases. If we're doing a cutover migration, we might need all 4 phases if we're doing a coexistence migration. We've participated in both types of migrations, and it's hard to say which one's the best for your organization. It's going to depend on what you're doing already and what you want your users to be able to experience. It's really easy to get started. All you have to have is an Office 365 subscription, get everyone starting to use Teams, and then there is a 30-day trial that you can take advantage of. And for attending this event, we actually have a free proof of concept offer that we can leverage that 30-day trial, and at no cost, we'll set up 5 users in your environment in that trial to telephone enable those 5 users Teams environment. Now, obviously, you already have to have Office 365 licensing with a level that supports Teams in your environment today, but assuming you have that in place, then you really have the full Teams, PBX, and phone system experience for 30 days at no cost to see if this can be the right solution for you. So if that is something that is of interest to you, please reach out to your account manager, give us a call on whatever your current phone system is, drop us an email, and we can get you connected with an account manager to talk about how we can get it running in a trial in your environment, and then lead deeper into the conversation of what is the right way to migrate you to Teams as a phone system. So thank you very much. Any questions? The Q&A is open and available. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So call center functionality. So there is some call center capability built into the application, depending on what level of call center functionality you're looking for. There is the ability to set up call queues and call routing rules that can provide, I would say, a good set of entry-level call center features that can provide for organizations. We can then add additional software on that same session I talked about, same application I talked about from Luware that gives us better attendant calling control, also can give us more advanced call queuing, call routing, and call center functionality. And then Teams also integrates with a number of call center applications that are out there. So there's a number of cloud-hosted call center systems that Teams fully integrates with. So lots of options for call center call queuing capabilities. It'd be a matter of determining, are the features that are enabled in Teams by default and included by default enough for what you need for your environment, or we could look at adding third-party capabilities or even third-party calls, integrated third-party call center functions in. We have looked at that for one customer, who's waiting for them to start their proof of concept. All right, well, at this point, I don't see any other questions, so thanks everyone very much for your time. Really appreciate you attending. And if you had questions you didn't want to ask in the group, you can certainly reach out to us. And if you want to take advantage of that POC or see another deeper demonstration, please reach out to us and let us know. Thanks everyone, have a good day.